Good morning, students. So, in this module, so far we have learned about what a transformer is, what a transformer does, why we use a transformer, what is the principle behind the operation of a transformer, then the EMF equation of a transformer, turns ratio, all these things we have seen in the previous videos. So, if you haven't watched those videos, please do watch those videos. So, the topic for discussion today is an ideal transformer. So transformer sometimes we say it's an ideal transformer, but it's an imaginary condition. An ideal transformer is not possible. We have a practical transformer which has losses and other things. So now itself you might have understood that an ideal transformer is a lossless transformer because there will not be any loss. Whatever we give in the input, we get that much in the output. So there is no losses. So we will see. So we will consider a transformer core. You know that this is the transformer core and this is the winding. We have N1 number of windings in the primary. That's N1 number of turns in the primary, N2 number of turns in the secondary. Then E1 is the induced EMF in the primary. E2 is the mutually induced EMF in the secondary. V1 is the supply voltage and V2 is the voltage across the load. But here there is no load. So I2 current will be 0. So for it, this is important with regards to our exam. For an ideal transformer, we take some assumptions. So for an ideal transformer, the winding resistance are negligible. That is, here for a practical transformer, there will be a resistance R1 and there will be a resistance R2 in primary and secondary respectively. So in case of an ideal transformer, for R1 and R2 will be there in case of a practical transformer. In case of an ideal transformer, winding resistance are negligible. We take them equal to 0. Then copper losses are negligible. Why copper losses are negligible? Because we know that copper loss is I square, current square into resistance. So here, since the resistance is 0, the copper loss are also 0. And the core and iron losses are also considered negligible. That is, we have learned in our previous sessions, like iron losses will be, it comprises of hysteresis loss and eddy current loss. So an ideal transformer means we don't have any loss at all. No copper loss, no core loss, no hysteresis loss, no eddy current loss. Okay. And see, all the flux set up by the primary links the secondary winding. That is no magnetic leakage flux. So whatever flux is generated here because of the input current I1, all that flux will be linking the secondary also. So in that case, E1 and E2, there is no losses. Okay, and then the magnetization curve for the core is linear. Why we say magnetization curve is linear? You know that area under a magnetization curve give the hysteresis losses. I have already explained in my previous videos when I was teaching you DC motor. So area under the BH curve give you the hysteresis loss, but here we know that hysteresis loss is negligible. So the magnetization curve will be linear in that case, and there will not be any reluctance. That times we say mu is infinity. No, like that is permeability. Mu means permeability. That is the ease with which the magnetic flux can, that is ease with which it can allow the pass of magnetic field. Like that. That is infinity. That means there is no reluctance. So we can see the important points like the winding resistance are negligible, the copper losses are negligible, the core loss or iron loss, which comprises of hysteresis loss and eddy current loss, they are also negligible. Then all the flux set up by the primary is mutually induced. That is, it is available in the secondary also. It links the secondary winding. That is, there is no magnetic leakage flux, and the magnetization curve is linear. And in that case, there is no hysteresis loss. That's because linear curve means there is no area under the curve, right? We have the diagram here. Because for a practical condition, this is the curve. BH curve, and we say that area under this curve will give you hysteresis. But when a BH curve becomes linear, that is the magnetic material can be magnetized and demagnetized easy. You know that this curve will just understand that. If you don't know, just understand that this curve is based on magnetization and demagnetization of the core, of the magnetic core, like how easily it get magnetized and how after some reaching a saturation point, how it get demagnetized. There will be a residual magnetic condition and all, because you don't need to study all these things. So here just concentrate that in an ideal condition, the magnetic material can be magnetized and demagnetized very easily. In that case, this BH curve will be a linear curve, and the area under that linear curve is zero. That is, hysteresis loss is zero. So now you might have, so you have, this is a university question. So what are the assumptions for a transformer to be ideal? Okay. Now we'll move on to the next and very important and a somewhat difficult portion compared to other portions. So be very attentive in case of this this phasor diagram, because this is important for you to study single phase transformer, three phase transformer, induction motor, three phase induction motor, auto transformer. Everything is important based on this phasor diagram. So you should listen carefully. So see this figure. In this figure, there is no load because we don't have any load. So the I2 current will be zero. So we know that the I2 current is zero for no load condition. So N1 draws the primary current I1 necessary to create the flux phi in the core. So N1, it draws the current I1 and it creates a flux phi. Okay. It creates a flux phi in the core. For ideal transformer, the winding resistance is zero. We already saw that. So the current I1 is used just to magnetize the core. So the only job of the current I1 is magnetizing the core, because there is no other loss, there is nothing else to be done. So I1 is equal to Im, or we also call that I mu. So Im is the magnetizing current, and E1 is the induced EMF in the primary, E2 is the induced EMF in the secondary. And for an ideal transformer, since there are no leakage flux, no winding resistance, no reluctance, nothing, V1 is equal to E1 and E2 is equal to V2, and I2 is zero for no load condition, and I1 is equal to Im, which is the magnetizing current, because I1 is not used for anything else in case of an ideal condition. We don't have any other things to do. It will just create the flux, and that is for magnetization. So we can wind up like, so in an ideal condition, the winding is purely inductive in nature, right? We already know that it's inductive, but here it is purely inductive. Why? Because there is no losses, no leakage flux, nothing, and no winding resistance also. So it's purely inductive in nature, and you know that for an inductor, the current lags the voltage. So if it is purely inductive, means the current lags the voltage by 90 degree. That is, Im, the magnetizing current, lags V1 by 90 degree. So Im produces flux phi. So phi is in phase with Im. So we know that we have a magnetic core there, and current I1 is passing through the winding, and that I1 in terms create a flux. So the current involved is I1 can be called as Im, because it is a magnetizing current, and that magnetizing current creates a flux phi. So phi is in phase with Im. So since the flux, so that flux phi will be moving from, so this flux phi, which is created due to the magnetizing current Im, listen carefully. Everything is not written in the note. Just listen carefully. So I1 is equal to Im. This is the magnetizing current, and that magnetizing current result in the flux phi, and that flux phi is common for both primary turns and the secondary, because flux is common everywhere, and that's why we call transformer as a constant flux device. Okay, so since flux is common in the primary and secondary, we take that as reference. So flux phi is taken as reference, and you know that the magnetizing current I1 is equal to Im is in phase with phi, in phase with the flux. And so since the primary is become purely inductive, in an ideal condition, the current should lag the voltage. So this is going anti-clockwise. The current should lag the voltage by 90 degree. Okay. And we also know that the EMF should because EMF is actually sine omega t minus pi by 2. So that's why the EMF is also lagging the voltage. That is, it is opposite in direction. So flux is lagging EMF. E1 and E1 is the primary EMF and E2 is secondary EMF. They will be in phase, but they will be slightly different in magnitude because it will be based on which has more number of turns. If E2 has more number of turns, that is N2 is greater than N1 means E2 will be more. Just like that. So, and E2 will be, and V1 and E1 will be it will be of the same magnitude, but they will be in opposite direction. They will be mutually opposite. Why? According to Lenz's law. So we can write E1 is equal to minus V1. Okay. That's why they are in opposite. They will be mutually perpendicular. So we draw E1 opposite to V1. Flux 5 links both the windings and induced EMF EM in the primary and EMF E2 in the secondary. I already explained. Primary voltage E1 is equal to and in phase opposition, in opposition with V1 according to Lenz's law. The primary voltage V1 is in phase opposition with E1 but equal in magnitude. Lenz law. And E2 will be there and based on the number of turns, either E2 will be more or E1 will be more. Okay. Then both E1 and E2 lags behind the flux phi by 90 degree. Already I showed in the phasor diagram. However, their magnitude depends upon N1 and N2. That's what I explained now. Also, E1 and E2 are in phase, but E1 is equal to V1 and 180 degree out of phase with V1. Everything already explained. So one important key point that you should understand, this is very important for doing your problems. Power input is equal to V1, the voltage in the primary, into current in the primary, into cos of angle between V1 and I1. So it will be V1 into Im into cos 90 degrees. So we saw here that the angle between V1 and I1, primary voltage and primary current, which is the magnetic current, is 90 degree. So power will be V1 I1 cos 90. So we know that cos 0 is 1, but cos 90 is 0. So the power input is 0. We can say that the no load power factor cos phi of an ideal transformer is 0 lagging. Okay. And the input power is also 0. Now we will consider the next case. Next case is when the transformer is on no load. There is no load condition. What happens? Because there is a different current involved there that we need to see. Till now we have seen only the no load condition, but what happens? What is the extra bit of current that is formed? Because there is a no load current I0 forming. So when V1 is applied to the primary, a current I0 will circulate through the primary winding. So I0 is the no load current and it has two components. This I0, which is the no load current, it has two components, which is denoted by Im or I mu, which is the magnetizing component, or we also call it the reactive component. In the previous session, I told you like the current is just used for magnetizing, for creating the flux. No? That component is the magnetizing component. It is also called a reactive component. And it produces flux phi. It is just used for producing the flux phi. Okay, it is in phase with the current. And IW is the working component or the wattful component or the useful component or the active component, because it is IW, that is active power component of the current is only current only, and it will be in phase with V1. Another considering a phasor considering that is coming, and it produces real power to supply the hysteresis and eddy current losses. So all these losses will come in case of the real power. In case of IW, that is the working component, and I mu is the magnetizing component. And I mu plus IW is equal to I0, which is the no load current. So here we can write that phi is equal to phi m sin omega t, that is the flux in the core. and E1 is the primary voltage and E2 is the secondary voltage. So we can write E1M, that is the primary voltage, that is maximum value of the primary voltage. We write EM sin omega t minus pi by 2, and E2 is also E2M, that is maximum value of E2 sin omega t minus pi by 2. That's why this is lagging by 90 degree. And also we have seen from the EMF equation of the transformer, like E2 by N2 is equal to, sorry, this is E2 by E1. This is actually E2 by E1, sorry. This is E2 by E1. So E2 by E1 is equal to N2 by N1. So E2 will be E2 into E1 into N2 by N1. And N2 is the turns ratio, and they take it as N2 by N1 is taken as 1 by A. Turns ratio. But no problem. While doing the problem, just remember this: E2 by E1 is equal to N2 by N1 is equal to V2 by V1 is equal to I1 by I2 in case of an ideal transformer. Okay. So so the previous case we saw that the no load current I naught, it has two components, I mu and Im. Okay. So Im is the Im is useful. Im is the reactive component. That is just used for magnetization. That is creating the flux. Sorry, it's a reactive component, and it is just used for creating the flux. And Iw will be perpendicular to that because we are resolving I naught, and that is the useful component or the wattful component. Okay, and that will be in phase with the supply voltage V1. So we have phi naught, which is the angle between voltage V1 and the no load current I naught. So we can write Iw is equal to I naught cosine cos phi naught, and Im is equal to I naught sine phi naught. And by Pythagoras theorem, we can write I naught is equal to, or parallelogram theorem, we can write I naught is equal to root of Iw square plus I mu square, and cos phi is adjacent side by hypotenuse, that is Iw by I naught. So you will get numerical problems to find out these values. Other things will be given, and you have to find the core loss in case of a no load condition. So in case of no load condition, the core loss is V1 into I naught into cos phi naught. That is V1 into Iw watts. And reactive volt ampere will be V1 into I naught sin phi naught. We know active component is the cos component, and reactive component is also the sine component. To understand more about active and reactive component, there is another video. Which I have uploaded regarding the power factor. You can watch that. You will get better idea what is active component, what is Iw, what is I mu, and everything. Okay. So far we have seen like what is the average, what is the phasor diagram in case of a no load condition, what is magnetizing component, what is the wattful component, how it is 90 degree, how is leading, how it is lagging, how this phi naught came, what is this phi naught, everything.